Well, welcome everyone. Good to see you. I see some familiar faces and then I see some new faces. If you would, in the chat box, tell me quickly if we have met before. So let me know in the chat box if this is your first time in a class with me. I just want to acknowledge and see you. So let me know in the chat box. And what we'll do today is we're going to cover the topic 4 critical questions to find the motivated. And then at the end, I'll open it up for questions. So if you have a question, use the chat box for now. And then towards the end, we'll open it up and we'll be able to have some dialogue. And the goal is we're out of here in 30 minutes. So we're going to jump right to it. Make sure you have something to take notes on. And awesome. There's quite a few of you that this is your first time, which is great. And some of you I recognize. Repeat offender, Anthony. Yeah, good. Awesome. All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump in real quick in case you're wondering who is this person and why are they speaking on this subject. I know that can be helpful context. So just real quick, I have been doing really phone sales since 2006. Last thing I ever thought I would do. And I've been in real estate since 2013. So been along for the ride of all the changes. And my first year in real estate, I sold 85 houses on a team. And I'm really passionate about helping agents get better at conversion because I'd actually love to hear from you in the chat box. Tell me, how would it change your life, how you're spending your time if you could get more done in less time in your real estate business? Because not only today, all the topics I teach, the goal is to help you with efficiency. So the more skilled you are, the less time you're going to need to be on the phone setting appointments, right? Because you're going to be better at converting those leads. And then once you're in front of an appointment, the better you are at converting leads, the less appointments you're going to have to go on. So you can either work less and make the same amount of money, or you could work the same you are now and make more money. But I think either way, it's a win, right? As your skills increase, it's a win. And that's what I'm really passionate about, is really helping you guys have more time. Yeah, I see a lot of people typing in saying more time with family and friends, sell more, travel. Oh, I like that. Travel more. Just today, I was imagining I have a week off coming up and I was like, where do I want to go? So I'm with you on that. Yeah, so just know that's where my heart's coming from. When I'm teaching this class, as I give you this content today, I see your faces, and where my brain is going is, gosh, as I can help increase your skill, you're going to have to do the work to internalize what I'm teaching you. But I get that it means more time with your family, more time with your friends, more time traveling, or whatever you feel like doing. More financial freedom, yes. When I got into real estate 11 years ago, I never would have imagined financially I'd be where I am today. And I still have more places and things I want to do financially. But there's always room for growth is what I'm saying. But my whole life has changed because of the real estate industry. And that's one thing I love about our industry. So, but it really does boil down to how skilled you are. Can we all just agree on that? It used to be in 2020, especially if you breathed, you could probably sell a house. That's just not the case anymore, right? So let's get into some skill. So I'm going to give you the 4 critical questions to find the motivated now, which will help you. Then I'm going to share a little bit more about where can you find more training like this, because we have a whole class coming up with content like this today. And then I'll open it up for Q&A. All right, you ready? Let's do it. All right, so 4 critical questions to find the motivated. Who titled this? Oops, I think that was me. It's hard to say. All right, so the first thing that you want to do before we get to the 4 critical questions is to dig into client motivation. I'd love to demonstrate that on this call. So in a minute, but not yet, I'm going to ask for a volunteer, and you're going to be a buyer or seller, and I'm going to dig into your motivation. For the purpose of the call today, be a motivated person, and I want it to be fairly realistic. The best demonstrations are when you already have a story in your mind and you're not making it up as I ask you questions, okay? So you could be yourself, you could be maybe a client you've worked with, but I am going to look for a volunteer in just a second. I'll be the agent. So the first thing you want to do is dig into client motivation. And by that, what I very specifically mean, what is their emotional reason for moving? What is the reason? Downsizing is not a reason. I used to think it was. I used to be like, awesome, I got their motivation. That is not motivation. Why do they want to downsize? Like, what pain point is going on in their life that's causing them to think, I need to downsize? Or what pleasure are they working towards by downsizing? Maybe they want to travel more. And by downsizing, they'd have more free money to travel and more time, right? So they're probably moving towards pain, or moving away from pain, or moving towards pleasure. So when we ask about motivation, that's what I'm talking about when I say spend some time digging into their motivation. On average, it takes about 3 minutes. I give you that benchmark so that when you're on the phone or if you're in person with someone, you can gauge how long you've been talking to them about motivation. And if it's been 45 seconds, I feel very comfortable saying you very likely do not have their motivation in 45 seconds. And if it's been 20 minutes, you've probably talked about a lot of stuff that's totally off topic and you're not efficient. So 3 minutes is about how long it takes. So we have to do that first before we ask the 4 critical questions. So let me just demonstrate it real fast. Who's the volunteer?
I'll volunteer.
Who's that?
Corinne.
Corinne, awesome. I don't see you. Where are you? Let me fix. Oh, there you are. I see you. I was like, where is she? All right, Corinne, thank you so much. We're going to pretend I've already opened the call. We've already chatted and said hello. And I'm just going to go right into some motivation questions, and I'm going to write down what you say. I'm not really teaching this method today, but I'm just going to demonstrate it as I go. So Corinne, wow, moving is so much work. What has you thinking about making that decision?
So we actually rent, and
Okay.
I just want a home of my own.
Okay. And what's important to you about having a home on your own?
Well, I have kids, so I think it'd be nice to be able to, have a place for them.
Okay. Now, some people would say, I have a place for them as a renter. What makes you feel that being a homeowner would give your kids a place?
Oh, that's a good question.
You can ignore this, by the way, Corinne. I'm just showing everybody what I'm doing.
Probably having a bigger backyard. Right now, our backyard's kind of small.
Okay.
Give them their own rooms.
Okay. I can appreciate that. And I love that your kids are an important part to you as a mom, Corinne, for why you want to move. So I'm hearing you say that you want a bigger yard. They would have their own rooms. What impact do you think it would have for your kids and for you if you had a bigger yard and your kids had their own rooms?
Um, Probably just that freedom and like having your own space, kind of
Okay.
like kids be kids,
Okay.
and probably
Um,
give me a break from fighting.
okay. I hear you. I want to be a kid too, personally.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to pause one moment. Corinne, did we collaborate before this to set up a role play, by the way?
No.
No.
No, I'm
Yeah.
giving you what I hear all the time.
Yeah. So I just want to make a point, and then I'm going to ask one more question, and then we'll get into the 4 critical questions. This isn't the main thing I'm teaching today. I teach how to do this, just not on today's webinar. But basically what I'm doing is I'm taking whatever word she just said and turning it into a question. So for example, I just said, what would the impact be if your kids had a bigger yard in their own rooms? I literally was just using her words in another question. But when I teach this, I always say, make sure you're going 3 deep. And each arrow represents a question I've asked. Do y'all see how there's 3 arrows? And she just gave me an emotional reason to move, a break from the kids fighting. Do you see that? That's why it takes 3 minutes to dig into this. And we didn't practice this. It happens almost every time, not every time. Sometimes it's on question 2, sometimes it's on question 5. But most of the time, you will start noticing it is the 3rd question, 3 arrows, 3 questions. That's when I get some sort of pain point. Okay. So now if Corinne suddenly said, I don't want to come to the appointment, or I'm going to change my mind, I can be her. I really think agents were like coaches. I can talk to me about the kids fighting. Like, let's get the kids not fighting. Are you sure this isn't the house for you, or, hey, I'm concerned about you not showing up for our appointment today. I know getting the kids into a home where they're not fighting is really important to you for your kids and your sanity. Do you see how that could help keep her engaged? Right? So I'm going to ask you one more question and then we'll get on to the next thing. So I hear you saying that you want the kids to be kids, you want them to have some freedom of space, and you need a break from them fighting. Talk to me about the fighting going on in your current house. Like what impact is that having on you right now?
Oh my gosh, well, it just stresses everybody out. And I feel like instead of being able to enjoy each other, it's just uh kind of chaos. And then it bleeds into everything.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty significant, Corinne. So I think what I'm hearing you say is the reason you want to buy a house is you're renting a home right now. And what you prefer is your kids to have a place to be kids. You want them to have a bigger yard. You want them to have their own bedrooms. And the reason for that is freedom. You want your kids to be able to be kids and have fun and play. And for you and for them, a break from fighting. It's your current living situation is stressful, it's chaotic, and it's bleeding into everything else. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that makes you want to move?
Um, just not having to worry about renting or moving or rent going up.
Okay. Now, pause. What I would do, I always do this, by the way. It's usually on a piece of paper if I'm talking to an actual buyer or seller. What I would do is put, she's talked about tired of renting. I would put what she just said at the top again, like a new column, and I would just build that out. Okay, talk to me about being a homeowner versus a renter. Like, what's the value of that to you? Tell me more about that. How would that impact you? And I would basically fill up this thing again to get into the deeper reason. You got it? Okay. So the purpose of today's webinar is not to go into that specifically. We do teach that in depth in the program I teach, which we'll talk about in a minute. But let's move on to the 4 critical questions. Okay. Thank you so much, Corinne, by the way. That
Thank
was
you.
awesome. All right, so let's get into the 4 critical questions. So we said that step 1 to do the 4 critical questions was to dig into client motivation and spend about 3 minutes on that. Can you all see why that matters now that we've demonstrated it? Look how much we got. How many of you thought we had motivation after she said kids have their own rooms and bigger yard? How many of you would have thought like, because that's how I was like, oh, good. Did you notice how she also said, oh, that's a good question. And then she had to think. I don't know if you guys caught that, but there was some awkward silence there for a minute because she was thinking. And then that's when she got into the fighting and blah, blah, blah. That's how it goes on a real call. I would say that was very realistic. So that now I have some real motivation going on here. So now I'm going to do the 4 critical questions. Okay. What's beautiful about these questions is it can dig out more motivation. I'm not going to word it this way, but I'm basically saying what could stop you? Like, what are your objections? What are the things that could stop you? But I'm not going to word it that way. But think of these questions as the intel gathering. I'm like the CIA right now. And I'm about to find out what's really going on. So what you're going to do is say, hey, on a scale of 0 to 10, and by the way, the reason it's 0 is 0, I don't have to say this is low and 10 is high. If I say 0, they know that means nothing, like bad. 10 is the good side. So on a scale of 0 to 10, how motivated are you? And if I'm talking to Corinne, I would say on a scale of 0 to 10, Corinne, how motivated are you to get your kids their own room, a bigger yard, so everybody stops fighting? Your kids can be kids and you have less chaos in your house. So I'm putting her motivation there. It's not how motivated are you to move? Why do you think we're not wording it, how motivated are you to move? Let me hear from somebody.
Because moving
There's less
Motions again?
there's
Yeah.
less emotion in the question.
Yeah, there's less emotion in the question. How many of you have heard, especially in the bold class, logic makes people think, but emotion makes them act? How many of you have made decisions that were stressful, that put stress in your life, but you did it because your emotional reason was high enough, right? And so you did it. because your emotional reason was high enough. Who here likes to move, by the way? You actually like the process of moving. I feel like my audiences are real estate agents. There's always some crazy people in there because we're real estate agents that are like, I love to move. But most people hate moving. So that's why we're not asking on a scale of 0 to 10, how motivated are you to move? We're asking on a scale of 0 to 10, how motivated are you to get all the things they just said they wanted, right? So less fighting, more space, less chaos. And then if I had actually dug into her whole motivation, you know, you're not a renter anymore, you're a homeowner, you can paint the walls, you don't have to worry about rent going up. How motivated are you to make that happen? Now, don't judge the number they give you, okay? I was in the hospital one time and the doctor said on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your pain level? And I gave a number and then I said, I probably drove him crazy with questions, but I was like, can I ask you, why do you ask that? Because what if Nadia would say a 7, but I say a 6 for the same thing? And he said, oh yeah, I don't care what your number is. I just want to know the next time I ask you, is it higher or lower? So the number I'm asking for is like the baseline. Okay. So I've had people tell me I'm a 5 and they move. Okay. I've had people tell me they're a 10 and they were like way too optimistic and just saying what they thought I wanted to hear and they didn't move. I've had 10s move. You know, I've seen it all across. I've had people say I'm a 3 and I thought, well, this is a waste of time and they moved. So don't judge the number. Okay. So on a scale of 0 to 10, how motivated are you to get whatever it is that they want? And then ask them what makes it that number. What makes it a 7? What makes it a 1? Sometimes people will say, oh, I'm an 11 plus. Okay, what makes it an 11 plus? What makes it that number? What you're going to get here is twofold: more motivation, more objections, or maybe both. So from doing this, I can tell you people say things like, well, I'm a 7. Okay, what makes you a 7? Well, I really want to move, but my partner is like dragging their feet, you know, so I would move. Like if it were just up to me, I'd be a 10, but my husband is making me a 7 because I don't think he's going to go for it. Well, now I know what I'm dealing with, right? So I'm uncovering the situation. Some people say, well, I'm a 8. And then you say, okay, what makes you an 8? Well, my heart really wants to do this, but I don't know that I can afford the next house. Now, can I caution you about something here? And you might need to write this in your notes. What's tempting to do is stop. Remember, how many questions are there? 4. We've only done 2. The temptation can be, let me stop the flow and start solving. So if somebody says, well, I want to, I just don't know if I can afford it. Just know, very likely the temptation is going to be, well, what can you afford? And tell me about your current house and what makes you think you can't afford it. And now you've broken the pattern, right? You can do that later, but don't break the pattern. So in your notes, however you need to write it down so you remember, go through the 4 questions before you start solving anything, okay? If they say, well, I'd move if I thought I could afford it, what is the interest rate right now? You're going to say, that is a great question. I'm happy to go over that with you in just a moment. I have a couple more questions. And they're fine with it. That's fine. So don't break the pattern. Okay, it's 4 questions. So what makes it that number? Then number 3, what would need to happen for it to be a 10? Or stay a 10? If they already said 10. Because some people will. So what would need to happen for you to stay a 10? Or what would need to happen for you to become a 10? And now what I'm basically saying is, give me my marching orders. Like, you know, Donna, you like, what would I, basically what I'm saying without saying it is, what do I need to do to help you make a decision to move? Right? Now, she may say something that I can do or something I can't do. You know, it's just going to depend on each situation. So what would need to happen for it to be a 10? Often they say things like, find me a house that I like better than the one I'm in. You know, they might say, make sure I don't go homeless. They could say, make sure my spouse starts thinking about this correctly, because if it weren't for him, I'd be moving. You know, you just don't know. But this is where you're going to find out what's the issue, what needs to happen to fix it, right? And then the last question is confirming. So Nadia, I think what I'm hearing you say is, if we can find you a house for less than $2,300 a month that fits the school district, it fits the neighborhood style, and in a brick ranch, you would be a 10. And now I'm basically like, did I get all the objections, right? And sometimes they'll say, yes, I would be a 10, or they might say, well, no, because there's another thing. And that's what I want. That's the whole point of the pattern. I'm pulling out what are all your motivations, what are all your objections, but I'm not wording it that way, right? So to put it together a bit more smoothly, I'll just run through it real quick. On a scale of 0 to 10, how motivated are you to have a yard, your kids with their own room so they quit fighting, so you have peace in the house? Okay, great. What makes it that number for you? Awesome. What would need to happen for you to be a 10? Okay, great. So if I found you XYZ, you would be a 10? Okay, awesome. Let's see what we need to do to make that happen. And that's like my transitioning away statement. Let's see what we need to do to make that happen. And now I'm going into logic mode. I'm kind of exiting the emotional part of the conversation. And I don't mean emotional as in they're crying. I just mean the emotional reason part of the conversation. And now I'm going to go into what most realtors are very good at, which is all the logical stuff. So when do you want to be there? How much do you owe? How much do you want to spend? Are you lender pre-qualified if they're using a loan? You know, all that stuff. Lenders or real estate agents are usually pretty good at that. So we'll do questions in a minute, but give me some takeaways real quick. And then we're going to talk about where you can find more training like this. So use the chat box. What did you learn that you could actually apply? What was your nugget from today? And if one or two of you want to unmute, that's fine.
I think it was the level of questions. It takes 3 minutes for you to get to the pain point or the pleasure point.
Yes.
And stop the hesitation, like and going into the solving mode versus like continue your questions.
Yes, perfect. Yeah. Good. Thank you for sharing that. And reading the chat box. Yes, it's the same for buyers or sellers. It's the same for everybody. Investor, buyer, seller, everybody. It works for everybody because everybody's a human, right? And it's the human psychology. And so that's where that works. Yeah, there's some great takeaways in here. Also, the point of make them talk, don't fill the silence. A little tip I used to have to do is I would ask a question and then hit mute on my phone because I did not trust myself to not fill in the awkward silence. But I've learned that silence is them thinking, and that's what we want. So that's okay. So if you have to hit mute on your phone because you're like me and you're going to keep talking, do it. Just do it. Okay. So let me share with you where you can find more training like this. Can we all just agree? Every market's good to work on skill, and especially the market of today, right? There's more objections. Houses aren't selling quite as quickly. And the thing is, the people who are skilled with their conversation are doing quite well. They're doing very well. And so skill is highly important. That's what's going to take it where you don't have to talk to as many people in order to be able to find somebody to buy or sell a house. So there is a class starting that I teach. It's going to be very similar to what we just did as far as format and style. And basically what I'm going to teach you is the relationship-based sales approach. Question, did what we just do, did it feel cringy? Can we all just agree there's a lot of cringy salespeople in all the various industries out there, right? And you just kind of want to hide, right? My goal is to help you be very relational in your approach. So mega lead conversion, Rodrigo, if you haven't done it already, if you could put the link into the chat box. But mega lead conversion is starting August 21st. That sounds far away. It's only about 4 weeks, which is insanity to me. In there, we're going to teach you 19 language patterns. So what's a language pattern? What I just taught you. So it's more like, here's the steps of how to talk to people. It doesn't have to be word for word exact. So what I like about a language pattern is it lets you be yourself but it gives you a science that works. So Courtney might word it one way, Pepper might word it a different way, but it's going to work as long as you follow the pattern. So that's what I love about a language pattern. We're going to give you some tracking systems, and the goal is increased conversion. So making it essentially that you can talk to less people and set more appointments for your time. That's the goal. And for me, what motivates me is seeing your answers. More time with my friends, more time with my family, more time to travel, more money. That's why I'm motivated to teach this class. So again, it starts August 21st, about 4 weeks away. It's 18 sessions over the course of 6 months. It'll be 2 o'clock Eastern. We record every session. A lot of you I know are watching this recording. A lot of you said, I have the flu or I have an appointment. And yes, you're watching the recording. It'll be the same thing in class, okay? And then it's a $199 a month investment. So that's about $1,200 total for the program, but we're only having you pay per month just to make it more accessible. Most people in your price point, if you got one closing out of that, you would have 8 times ROI. How many of you would say off of just what you learned today, you think you could find a closing? So imagine 18 sessions similar to today. You certainly will find a closing unless you're just not showing up. You will find closings. So let me show you real quick what the client portal looks like, and then I'll open it up to questions about the class. If you're curious, well, what does this look like? You know, how's this going to work? I'll show you a class that's running right now. So this is a class that started back in May. And you'll have a client portal. Every session will be posted after we teach it. And I do some bonus sessions here and there. You can see that here. And basically, say you missed session 7 because you were out on an appointment. Click on session 7. Here's the recording. Here's the downloads. You're good to go. Okay. And people will tell me they'll watch it multiple times if they miss, you know, maybe there's a topic you really need, you can watch it a couple times. So megaleadconversion.com. And again, that starts August 21st, August 24th, August 21st, August 21st. All right. So who has a question? Let's start with questions about the class. And then if we have time, we'll do questions about today's topic. So who has a question about the class, how it works? And thank you. I see some compliments in there about the class. So thank you guys, those of you that have taken it. By the way, we're tweaking it. So the class that's about to launch is going to have some new content with all the changes going on in the industry. So we're adding some content, we're removing some content to tweak it. So it's really customized for today's market. So if you've taken it before, shoot me an email. I'll give you a discount code because you're an alumni to help you out with that. Corin said, how long are you able to access the recordings? It's a 6-month program and you have 8 months of access. So you'll have 2 months from the end of the very last class. So plenty of time, plenty of time. Just don't forget. People will email me, I forgot. I remind you. MAPS will remind you too. Any other questions about the class? Am I going to see any of you there? Get me excited for who I'll see. I see some of you waving or smiling at me. Awesome. Good. Yay. How fun is that? Do us a favor. If you already know you're going to take it, if you're like me, I'm a procrastinator. I'm the person who would sign up the morning of August 21st because I'm like, oh yeah, class starts today. Can you do us a favor? And if you already know you're going to take it, sign up now. It just prevents a lot of last minute chaos. Imagine the back end. We usually get 50 to 60 people signing up right at the last second. And imagine it can create a little bit of chaos on the admin side to make sure you're good to go. So if you already know you're going to do it, just go ahead and do us a favor and register. And then shortly before class begins, you'll see your portal and everything populate. Okay, any questions on the topic from today, class or about the content? Y'all are just quiet today. Is it Jamie? Go ahead, you can unmute.
I just had a question about using these for open houses. So I thought I was finding myself figuring out how to capture some of the motivation. And sometimes there's a good flow, but sometimes there's back-to-back stuff. So I think I was curious about that.
Yeah, you can literally use this anywhere with any person that's interested in real estate. I think if I'm at an open house, prioritize capturing their contact info because we've all been in the open house where it's slow and we can have a long conversation. And then we've been in the open house where we just start to talk to someone and then 3 people walk in and then they end up walking out without the contact info, right? So prioritize grabbing the contact info if you're at an open house. And then if possible, I could see that going like, okay, awesome, name, number, thank you. Thank you for that. Hey, I'm curious, what has you checking out a house today? You could be at Costco. What brought you to this open house? Next week, if I'm calling leads, I would say you could be online watching the Olympics right now. What has you on a real estate site? Okay. So I like that question for open houses. You could be doing this, that, or the other thing. What brought you to an open house? And then that starts that motivation conversation and you could go from there. But you want that contact info first, just in case you get interrupted and somebody else walks in. All right, good. All right, well, I think we are at time. I want to respect your time. But again, megaleadconversion.com. It sounds farther away because it's August, but it's really only about 4 weeks, August 21st. Go ahead and sign up if you know you're going to do it. I will bring my best to the class, and that's what I would ask of you. So show up, be ready to take notes, and we'll record it. If you miss a session, no problem. You can catch the recording. Just a quick client testimonial. Well, I'll give you 2, and then we'll close. I had a client email me a couple classes ago and we were 3 months in out of 6. So we were about 9 sessions in out of 18. And she said, I just want you to know I'm averaging 10 extra appointments a month that I'm meeting. So not setting extra, actually sitting in front of their showing. So my guess would be she was probably setting more like 13, 14, but she was actually getting in front of 10 extra people. And she said, it's all from what I learned in this class. And we were only halfway through. So imagine if you apply yourself, everybody has a different business and it's up to your hustle, right? And how many people you're talking to. But that is a testimonial from a client seeing 10 additional clients a month halfway through the program. And then one of my favorites, I had somebody email me recently, and this just touched my heart. I grew up in a single parent home, and she messaged me and said, I just want you to know I'm newly a single parent. I have 2 young kids, and I was spending a lot more time at work. And because my skills have improved, I have more time with my kids. So she didn't give me like numbers, and that was fine. What I cared about was hearing that message of I have more time with my kids because I'm better skilled. So that equals more time at home with my kids. That really filled my bucket as a coach. So if that's what you're looking for, this class will help you. I see a private question here. How long are the sessions? They're an hour each session. And at the end of the sessions, we'll have time for Q&A. You'll get workbooks to fill out. Or you could just take notes on your own if you want. I had somebody once like diss me for the workbooks. They were like, we're not in high school. Why do you give us a workbook? And I thought some people like the workbooks, but don't use them if you don't like them, okay? You don't have to use them, but we'll give you workbooks. Awesome. Anything else real quick? Comment, question? Ruth, I don't know if you have a question or if you're just making a comment there. You're welcome. Thank you guys for being here. Oh, Ruth, there's a lot of ways you can do that. She said, how do you get contacted at open house? You could have a sign-in form. A lot of people do it on an iPad, but there's different ways. But basically, you just ask for it. Like, hey, sign in here. Paper, electronic, however you want to do that. This is recorded. So if you want to watch it again, share it with a friend. You're welcome to do that. We'll email it to you once we get the recording back from Zoom. It usually takes about 24 hours, and we'll send this to you by email. So watch your email to get that recording. And if you don't see it, check spam. We will send it usually within 24 hours. All right. Oh, Gina said Curb Hero app. I don't know anything about it, but Gina says Curb Hero app for open houses. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining me on today's webinar, and I trust I'll see you in class on the 21st. Have a great one.